There's certainly a lot of headlines or news making headlines over in Nigeria today. And first of all, it concerns the political situation in the country, where there are big question marks surrounding the presidential succession in the country. Just how much of a factor is this in terms of market activity that we're seeing at the moment?
Good morning, Alishia. I think it is a big factor in the sense of mainly for foreign investors, because foreign investors who are thinking of looking at the Nigerian market, looking especially at the banking sector and the good value there, are wary of jumping into the market until this political uncertainty is removed. And while the acting president continues to apparently make moves to secure the position and change his political team, and the political climate remains unclear, I think we're going to see a bit of hesitancy in foreign investors. Domestic investors are used to this, and most of them are just really in the market to try and take over portfolio losses.
Yep, well, let's take a look at then a factor that's hard to ignore, whether you be a foreign or local investor in the banking sector specifically. I mean, we've got expectations for more provisions out of the banking players this month, so that keeping everyone tentative. What's your view on the kind of activity we're seeing in the banking space at the moment?
I think in the banking sector, what we're seeing is really there's a lot of information being dripping out and being leaked in anticipation of the common year end, which all the banks are going to report to in the next, we're expecting in the next month. Some of the results are going to start coming out. I think what we're probably going to see is that there are going to be some winners and some losers. There are going to be some banks who have a relatively strong risk management process, who have basically taken all the provisions that they need to take and are going to prove pretty solid results. And there are going to be a lot of banks who still have a lot of toxic assets and have to provide more provisions. Yeah. And really there's going to be a two-step strategy, I think, in that sense.
Of course, that's the one thing keeping investors tentative. Of course, the big X factor as well is the AMC. I mean, Senate sending the bill back to the drawing board for more detail. The IMF has certainly been supportive of the bill. Here's what Antoinette Sayer, who's the director of the African department at the IMF, had to say about it. Let's take a look at that clip before we get your comment.
There are some technicalities around getting in place this asset management company. It, as you say, has not been put forward. We think they're possibly a good role for that. There are very large potential fiscal implications, of course, the banking sector crisis in Nigeria that have to be managed appropriately. And we're very much working to support the Nigerian authorities' efforts in that regard.
Well, of course, Kayode, that's the one view out there, but some still saying there's a lot of confusion in the market as to whether this might or might not be passed by the Senate. Others saying it's just a matter of time. What's your view?
I think an AMC bill in some form or shape will be passed by the Senate, by the House of Senate and the National Assembly. It also depends on, but it really is on the form. And what the CBN wants to do is put an AMC that takes some of these toxic assets off the banks. But what we have to remember is that even if the AMC is passed in a form that CBN likes, there's only a certain amount of these toxic assets it can take off the bank's balance sheets. And no one's talking about the pricing of taking off these assets. So it's not going to help solve the problem, but it's not going to solve the problem totally. There need to be other measures taken to try and remove some of these toxic assets from the banks and improve the risk management processes in a lot of these banks. And AMC is one possible solution, but it's not, even if it's passed, it's not going to be the only solution.